I was 14 when I learned betrayal doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers, low and sharp, like a knife sliding into a drawer. It was a Tuesday in September, the kind of Seattle evening where the rain doesn't fall so much as it hovers, a damp promise that clings to your skin. I was sprawled on the living room rug, algebra homework spread out like a map to nowhere, when I heard it. My parents' voices, hushed but jagged, slipping through the kitchen door they thought they'd close. Elise is strong, she'll manage, my mother Margaret said, her tone clipped, like she was signing off on a business deal. Liam's the one who needs us. His potential, Richard, his future. We can't let her drag him down. I froze, pencil hovering over a half solved equation. Drag him down? My little brother Liam was 10, a wiry kid with a smirk that could charm teachers and a brain they called gifted. Me? I was just Elise Harper, the older sister who patched his scraped knees and snuck him extra cookies. I wasn't a prodigy. I wasn't fragile. But I wasn't nothing. He's 14, Margaret, my father, Richard, muttered, his voice heavy with something I couldn't name. Guilt, maybe? Or exhaustion? What do we even say? We say what's true, Margaret snapped. She's resilient. She'll survive. Liam's academy costs more than we can handle, and the trust fund's gone. We need to prioritize. I pressed my knuckles into the rug, the fibers biting into my skin. Trust fund? My grandmother, Evelyn, had died 2 years ago, leaving me whispers of a college fund she'd set aside. I'd overheard her once, her voice soft as she tucked me in. Elise, you're my listener. That money's for your dreams. Now it was gone? For Liam's academy? The kitchen went quiet, and I should have moved, should have crept back to my room, but my legs felt like concrete. Then Richard spoke again, lower, like he was afraid of the words. The Wilsons are ready. They'll take her tomorrow. Foster care's not forever, just until we stabilize. Foster care. The phrase hit like a fist, stealing my breath. They weren't talking about grounding me or sending me to camp. They were planning to ship me off. To strangers. Like I was a package they couldn't afford to keep. I wanted to scream, to barge in and demand answers, but my body wouldn't move. I just sat there, heart hammering, as the world I knew cracked open. Dinner that night was a blur. Mom set the table with her usual precision, the clink of plates too loud in the silence. Liam was at a debate club sleepover, leaving just the three of us. Dad avoided my eyes, stirring his coffee until it sloshed over the rim. Mom pushed a plate of chicken and mashed potatoes toward me, her smile thin as a razor. Eat up, Elise. You've got school tomorrow. The food smelled wrong, too heavy, like it was hiding something. I took a bite, then another, watching Mom's hands as she cut her chicken. Her fingers trembled, just once. I swallowed, my throat tight, and felt a strange fog creeping into my head. My fork slipped, clattering against the plate. I'm tired, I mumbled, the words sluggish. Bed. Then Mom said, too quickly. Dad stood, his chair scraping the floor, and guided me upstairs. His hand on my shoulder felt like a stranger's. I collapsed onto my bed, the room tilting, and the last thing I saw was Mom's silhouette in the doorway, her face unreadable. I woke to darkness, my body swaying, a low hum vibrating through me. I was in the back seat of our old Subaru, the leather cold against my cheek. My head throbbed, my tongue thick like I'd chewed cotton. The dashboard clock glowed 2:17 IEM. Rain streaked the windows, blurring the world outside. Dad was driving, his knuckles white on the wheel. Mom sat shotgun, her posture rigid, staring straight ahead. Where? My voice cracked, barely a whisper. I tried to sit up, but my arms felt like lead. She, Elise, Mom said without turning. It's for the best. Panic clawed at my chest. I fumbled for the door handle, but my fingers wouldn't cooperate. What's happening? Where are we going? Dad's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror, then away. You'll be okay, kid. Just trust us. Trust them? After they'd drugged my dinner? I forced my eyes to focus, catching glimpses of street signs. We were on the edge of Seattle, far from our tidy suburban street. The road was narrow, flanked by dark pines, the kind of place where you could disappear and no one would look twice. Suddenly, headlights flared ahead, too close. A truck barreled toward us, its horn blaring. Dad cursed, yanking the wheel. The car swerved, tires screeching, and I slammed against the door, pain exploding in my shoulder. For a moment, I thought we'd flip, that this was it, my parents' plan ending in a mangled wreck. But the car steadied, the truck roaring past, its driver shouting something lost in the wind. Richard, Mom hissed, her voice shaking. Focus. I'm trying, he snapped, his hands trembling. This isn't easy, okay? I curled into the seat, heart pounding so hard I thought it'd burst. They weren't just abandoning me. They were reckless, desperate, unraveling. I wanted to scream, to beg, but the fog in my head held me back, a chemical leash keeping me quiet. We pulled up to a small house, its porch light flickering like a dying star. The sign out front read, Wilson Family Home. Two figures stood waiting, shadows in the rain. Dad killed the engine, and Mom turned to me, her face a mask of forced calm. Elise, this is temporary. The Wilsons are good people. You'll be fine. Temporary? I croaked. You drugged me. You're leaving me. Her eyes flickered, but she didn't answer. Dad got out, opened my door, and pulled a duffel bag from the trunk, my duffel, half-zipped, stuffed with clothes I hadn't packed. The Wilsons stepped forward, a middle-aged couple with tired smiles. Elise, welcome, the woman said, her voice soft but strained, like she'd said it too many times. Dad handed them my bag, then shook their hands, his movements mechanical. Mom didn't look at me. They climbed back into the car, and I stood there, rain soaking my hoodie, as their taillights vanished into the night. No goodbye. No hug. Just the sound of the engine fading, leaving me with strangers who smelled of coffee and regret. Inside, the house was warm but cluttered, toys and laundry scattered like evidence of too many lives. Mrs. Wilson, Karen, showed me to a small room with a twin bed and a yellow quilt that wasn't mine. You'll settle in, she said, her eyes kind but distracted. Mr. Wilson, Tom, mumbled something about breakfast and disappeared. I sat on the bed, my duffel at my feet, and felt the weight of it all crash down. I wasn't just alone, I was erased. The next morning, I woke to the smell of pancakes and the sound of Karen arguing with a social worker on the phone. We're at capacity, but we'll make it work, she said, her voice tight. I stared at the ceiling, my head clearer, but my heart heavier. My phone, still in my pocket, had no messages, no missed calls, just a blank screen like my family had already forgotten how to find me. School was worse. I went back to Franklin High, same backpack, same sneakers, but everything felt different. Kids whispered as I passed, their eyes darting away when I looked. By lunch, I heard the rumor. Elise Harper ran away, ditched her family for some wild life. Liam, my own brother, had spread it, his voice loud in the cafeteria. She didn't want us anymore. I stood frozen, tray in hand, as his friends nodded, eating up the lie like it was dessert. I confronted him after school, catching him by the bike racks. Why do you say that? I demanded, my voice shaking. You know it's not true. Liam shrugged, his eyes cold, already too much like Mom's. It's what they told me. You're not my problem, Elise. He pedaled off, leaving me in the dust, his words sharper than any knife. That night, I found the note. I was unpacking my duffel, shaking out wrinkled shirts, when a folded scrap of paper fell from the side pocket. It was in Grandma Evelyn's handwriting, curly and deliberate, the kind she used for Christmas cards. Elise, my listener, there's more for you than they know. Find the vault. Claim what's yours. I read it 3 times, my pulse racing. A vault? An inheritance? It was a spark in the dark, a mystery I couldn't ignore. But it was also a weight, because if Mom and Dad had stolen my college fund, what else were they hiding? Days turned into weeks, and the Wilsons tried their best. Karen made spaghetti, Tom fixed my bike, but their house was a revolving door of foster kids, each with their own scars. I kept my head down, my journal becoming my only confidant. I wrote everything: the drug dinner, the near crash, Liam's lies, the note, every betrayal, every dollar stolen, every birthday they'd forgotten. I wasn't just keeping a record, I was building a weapon. At school, the rumors grew legs. My history teacher, Ms. Callahan, pulled me aside after class, her face stern. Elise, your mother called. She says you've been skipping school, acting out. If you don't admit you ran away, I'll have to report you for truancy. Her words hit like a slap. Mom had lied to the school, painting me as the problem to cover their tracks. I clenched my fists, forcing my voice steady. I didn't run. They left me. She didn't believe me, her eyes narrowing, and I walked away, the threat of a report hanging over me like a storm cloud. By 15, I was a ghost in my own life. Then came the invitation, a gala for Liam's academy where he'd been named Student of the Year. I didn't want to go, but Karen insisted, saying it might heal things. I showed up in a borrowed dress, my hair pulled back, hoping for a scrap of family. Instead, I was handed a tray and told to serve drinks. You're not on the guest list, the coordinator said, barely glancing at me, but we need help. I swallowed the humiliation, pouring lemonade for strangers who didn't know my name. Liam was the star, his smile dazzling under the chandeliers, Mom and Dad flanking him like bodyguards. Margaret caught my eye once, whispering to a guest, "That's our troubled daughter. Such a shame." The guest nodded, pity in her eyes, and I gripped the tray so hard my knuckles turned white. Then it happened. A kid from Liam's debate team, a wiry boy with a cruel grin, cornered me near the supply room. "Liam says you're nobody," he sneered, shoving me inside. The door slammed, the lock clicked, and the air grew thick. It was a storage closet, cramped and dark, shelves pressing in. I pounded on the door, my shouts muffled, but no one came. My chest tightened, the oxygen thinning, my vision spotting. I clawed at the shelves, knocking over boxes, until I found a screwdriver and pried the lock open, gasping as I stumbled into the hall. The boy was gone, but Liam's laughter echoed nearby, and I knew he'd put him up to it. I didn't cry. I went back to serving drinks, my hands shaking, my mind racing. That night, I overheard Mom talking to a lawyer in the gala's quiet corner. "If Elise makes trouble, we'll say she stole from us," she said, her voice cold. "Liam's the heir. She's nothing." I froze, my heart a drum in my chest. They weren't just abandoning me. They were planning to destroy me. Back at the Wilsonses, things got worse. Karen sat me down, her face pinched. "Elise, we're struggling. The state's pushing us to send you to a group home in Tacoma. It's stricter, but we can't afford to keep you unless you behave." Behave. The word burned. They didn't mean it cruelly, but it felt like another betrayal, another door closing. I nodded, promising to be good, but inside I was screaming. I started digging. On the Wilsons' ancient laptop, I found Liam's Instagram, a shrine to his perfect life. "Only child," his bio read, with photos of him and our parents at beaches, dinners, holidays. I was gone, cropped out, erased. One post stopped me cold. A Christmas photo from 3 years ago when I'd stood right beside him in matching sweaters. Now it was just Liam, Mom, and Dad, smiling like I'd never existed. The caption read, "Grateful for my family, always there, always." The lie was so easy, so polished, it made my stomach churn. For my 16th birthday, a card arrived from Liam. No message, just a $10 0 cents Starbucks gift card and a post-it. Don't expect more. I tore the card in half, kept the gift card, and added the post-it to my lockbox. That same week, an email landed in my inbox, no sender name, just a string of numbers. "Your grandmother didn't die naturally," it read. "Ask about the vault." I stared at the screen, my skin prickling. Grandma's death had been sudden. A heart attack, they'd said. Was this a prank, a trap, or the truth? I found Mom's blog next, buried in a parenting forum. "Our daughter Elise chose to leave us for a better life," she wrote, her words dripping with fake tears. "We pray for her every day." The post had hundreds of comments, strangers offering sympathy, calling me ungrateful. I printed it, my hand steady, and slipped it into my lockbox. This wasn't just a lie, it was a campaign. One night, walking home from the library, I heard an engine rev behind me. A black sedan peeled out of an alley, headlights blinding. I ran, my backpack slamming against my spine, but the car kept pace, its driver a shadow in a suit. "Stay quiet, Elise," he shouted, his voice rough. "You don't want to know what happens if you talk." I dove into a side street, heart pounding, and hid behind a dumpster until the car roared away. I didn't sleep that night, the man's voice looping in my head. He wasn't a stranger. He was Dad's business partner, Mr. Callahan, the kind of man who smiled at barbecues and carried secrets like spare change. By 17, I was a senior, pulling straight A's despite the chaos. Another invitation came, Liam's National Debate Championship in Portland. I went against my better judgment, hoping for a crack in their armor. My name wasn't on the guest list. They sat me near the janitor's closet, a folding chair with a wobbly leg. Liam took the stage, his speech flawless, dedicating his win to my parents, who gave me everything. The crowd cheered, but I felt like I was drowning. Mom and Dad clapped, their faces glowing, while I sat invisible, the sister they'd buried alive. I left early, slipping into the rain, my journal heavy in my bag. I didn't know it then, but that night was the last time I'd let them write my story. I was done being their ghost. I had Grandma's note, a lockbox full of truths, and a fire in my chest that wouldn't die. They thought they'd broken me, but they'd only taught me how to sharpen my edges, and I was ready to cut. The rain didn't stop that night in Portland. It followed me out of the debate championship, soaking my sneakers as I trudged through the parking lot, my journal pressed against my chest like a shield. Liam's voice still echoed in my head, dedicating his win to my supportive parents as if I'd never existed. The crowd's applause had felt like a door slamming shut, locking me out of a family that had once been mine. But worse was Mom's attempt at a hug, her arms outstretched for the cameras, her smile a polished lie. I'd pushed her away, whispering, "You buried me alive," and watched her face flicker, not with guilt, but with calculation. That's when I knew this wasn't over. They weren't done with me, and I sure as hell wasn't done with them. I slipped into a diner across the street, the kind with sticky booths and coffee that tasted like regret. My hands shook as I pulled a USB drive from my pocket, the one I'd left on the dessert table at the gala, labeled Truth in Sharpie. It held a single file, a screenshot of Mom's blog post, the one where she'd written, "Our daughter Elise chose to leave us for a better life." I'd tipped it to a journalist, a burner email sent from the Wilsons' laptop, no name attached. Now, sitting under the diner's flickering neon, I wondered if I'd lit a fuse I couldn't control. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Got your tip. Meet me tomorrow, 9 a.m., Pioneer Square. Come alone. My stomach twisted. A journalist? A trap? I didn't know, but I typed back, I'll be there, and hit send before I could overthink it. Back at the Wilsons, I barely slept. The house creaked, the other foster kids' snores a reminder I was just one of many. I lay on my narrow bed, Grandma Evelyn's note in my hand, her words a lifeline. Find the vault, claim what's yours. I'd tucked it into my journal, next to the lockbox key I'd started carrying like a talisman. The vault was real, I felt it in my bones. But where was it? And why had Mom and Dad gone to such lengths to erase me from their lives? The questions gnawed at me, but so did the fear. If they drugged me once, what else were they capable of? Morning came too fast. Seattle's Pioneer Square was a maze of cobblestones and coffee shops, the air sharp with salt from the sound. I wore a hoodie, my hair tucked under a baseball cap, trying to blend in. The journalist was waiting at a bench, a woman in her 30s with sharp eyes and a notepad. Elise Harper? She asked, her voice low. I nodded, sitting at the edge of the bench, my pulse racing. I'm Dana Torres, Seattle Times. Your tip? Margaret Harper's blog post? It's explosive, but it's not enough. I need you to go public. Put your name on it, or this stays a rumor. I froze. Go public? Expose my parents? Liam? The whole twisted lie? If I do that, I said, my voice barely steady, they'll destroy me. They've already tried. Dana leaned closer, her eyes narrowing. They're already destroying you, kid. That post has thousands of shares, painting you as the villain. You want to fight back? You need to own the story. She slid me her card, her number scrawled on the back. 24 hours, Elise. Or I move on. The pressure was a vice around my chest. I pocketed the card and left, her words looping in my head. Own the story. But at what cost? School was a minefield that day. Kids stared, whispers trailing me like smoke. Liam's lies had spread, and now I was the troubled sister who'd abandoned her gifted brother. In English class, Miss Callahan cornered me again, her voice dripping with fake concern. Elise, your mother's worried. She says you're lashing out, spreading lies. Confess to the truancy and we can help you. Help me. I wanted to scream that Mom had drugged me, dumped me, stolen my future. Instead, I said, I'm not confessing to something I didn't do, and walked out, her threat of a report hanging over me like a guillotine. That night, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Elise Harper, a man asked, his voice smooth as polished stone. This is Arthur Kim, your grandmother's estate lawyer. I need to see you. There's something Evelyn left you. Something your parents don't know about. My heart skipped. The vault. Can you come to my office tomorrow, downtown, 3 p.m.? I agreed, barely breathing, and hung up. The hope was intoxicating, but so was the fear. If Grandma had hidden something for me, why was it a secret? And what would Mom and Dad do if they found out? Mr. Kim's office was in a converted Victorian, all dark wood and brass fixtures, the kind of place that smelled like old money and older secrets. He was older than I'd expected, with kind eyes but a guarded smile. Elise, he said, sliding a manila envelope across his desk. Your grandmother was very clear. This is for you alone. Inside was a letter in her curly handwriting, a small silver key, and a bank document. The letter read, Elise, you're the true heir. There's a trust fund hidden in a Seattle bank vault meant for your future. Don't let them steal your light. My hands shook as I read the document, a $50,000 0 cents trust, untouchable by anyone but me. But the letter ended with a chilling line. The key to the safe deposit box is yours, but it's not here. Find it before they do. I looked up, my voice barely a whisper. The key's missing? Mr. Kim nodded, his face unreadable. Evelyn was careful, but she didn't trust your parents. She hid the keys somewhere only you'd know. I don't have more answers, Elise. Be careful. Be careful. The words echoed as I left, the envelope clutched to my chest. A trust fund, a missing key, and a family that had already proven they'd do anything to keep me down. I was in deeper than I'd ever imagined. When I got back to the Wilsons, the house was dark, the front window shattered, red spray paint screamed across my bedroom wall. Traitor. My breath caught, my knees buckling. The other foster kids were huddled in the living room, Karen's face pale as she called the police. "It happened an hour ago," she whispered. "A car sped off. Black sedan, no plates." I knew that car. Mr. Callahan, Dad's associate, the man who'd chased me weeks ago. This wasn't a prank, it was a warning. The police came, took photos, and left with promises to look into it. But I saw the doubt in their eyes. Another foster kid, cased kid, another problem they wouldn't solve. Karen hugged me, her hands shaking. "Elise, we can't keep you safe here. The state's pushing for a group home. You need to stay out of trouble." The pressure was crushing. Stay out of trouble? My family was hunting me, and I was the one who had to behave? I didn't sleep. I sat on my bed, the envelope open, Grandma's letter in my lap. The missing key was a puzzle, a taunt. I thought of every place she'd loved, her garden, the pier, the bookstore we'd visited. Nothing clicked. But the trust fund was real, and so was the threat. If Mom and Dad found out, they'd come for it. They'd already stolen my college fund, $30,000, 0 cents funneled to Liam's debate tours and luxury camps. His Instagram posts tagged "Grateful Son." I found them late that night. His smug face in photos from Paris, Tokyo, Dubai. I was sleeping on a borrowed mattress, and he was living my future. The next day, Mom and Dad showed up at the Wilsons. I was in the kitchen, washing dishes, when Karen called me to the living room. They sat on the couch, Mom in a tailored coat, Dad's shirt wrinkled, both looking like they'd rehearsed their lines. "Elise," Mom said, her voice soft, "we're in trouble. Liam's academy fees, the house. We're drowning. We heard about your grandmother's trust. We just need a little help as a family." Her eyes were wet, but I saw the lie in them, sharp as glass. I crossed my arms. "You stole my college fund. You drugged me. You left me. And now you want my money?" Dad's face hardened. "We raised you, Elise. You owe us." I laughed, bitter and raw. "Owe you? You buried me." Mom stood, her voice rising. "You're selfish, Elise. Liam's future is at stake." I held up the bank document, watching their eyes widen. "This is mine. Grandma made sure of it. You're not touching it." Dad slammed his hand on the table. "You'll regret this. We'll see you in court." They stormed out, the door slamming, and I stood there, shaking but unbroken. That night I woke to footsteps outside my window. A shadow moved. Then a brick crashed through the glass, landing inches from my head. I screamed, scrambling back, my heart pounding. Karen and Tom burst in, but the figure was gone. On the brick was a note. "Drop it, or next time we aim better." I recognized Dad's handwriting, the same scrawl from my old birthday cards. The police came again, useless again, and I sat on the couch, the note in my hand, fear and fury warring inside me. I needed help. I called Nora, my friend from computer lab, a hacker with a knack for finding what shouldn't be found. "I need to know about the trust fund," I told her, my voice urgent. "How did they steal it?" Nora worked fast, calling me 2 days later. "Elise, it's bad. Your parents forged your signature to redirect the $30,000, 0 cents, to Liam's academy when you were 14. The bank didn't question it. Your mom's a co-signer. I've got the documents, but you need to be careful. They're not playing." I thanked her, my mind racing. Forgery. A crime. I had proof, but using it meant war. College changed everything. I got into the University of Washington on a scholarship, majoring in journalism, pouring my pain into words. I started a whistleblower platform, Unheard Voices, exposing family fraud. It was small but growing, a few hundred followers sharing their stories. But my family didn't stop. Anonymous emails hit my university inbox, accusing me of betraying my family, demanding my expulsion. I traced one to Mom's IP address, her digital fingerprints sloppy but vicious. Then she posted on X. Elise turned her back on us. We gave her everything. The post went viral. Thousands of strangers calling me a monster. My scholarship was jeopardized when a donor, a friend of Mom's, questioned my character. I had to meet with the dean, pleading my case. My voice steady, but my heart breaking. The Wilsons helped me draft a cease and desist letter, warning Mom and Dad of legal action. I sent it certified mail, my hands steady as I sealed the envelope. Mom's response was a lawsuit filed the next week, claiming I'd stolen family heirlooms, Grandma's jewelry worth thousands. It was a lie designed to bankrupt me, drag me through court until I broke. I hired a pro bono lawyer, a young woman named Priya, who believed me. This is harassment, she said. We'll fight it. But the stress was a weight I couldn't shake. Then came the bombshell. In court documents, I found a single line. Liam Harper, adopted at age 2. Adopted? My brother, the golden child, wasn't biologically theirs? I sat in Priya's office, stunned. Why favor him? I asked. Priya shrugged. Maybe control, maybe guilt. We'll dig. The revelation was a crack in their armor, but it raised more questions. Why hide it? Why sacrifice me? One night, leaving the library, I was cornered in the parking lot. A man in a ski mask stepped from the shadows, his voice low. Drop the lawsuit, Elise, or you're done. I backed away, my phone recording in my pocket. He lunged, grabbing my arm, but I twisted free, sprinting to my dorm. The recording was shaky but clear, his voice matching Mr. Callahan's. I filed a restraining order against Dad and Callahan, my hands shaking as I signed the paper. The judge granted it, but I knew they wouldn't stop. The final blow was the hack. My platform server crashed, leaking my evidence. Nora's documents, my journal scans, everything. Trolls swarmed, calling me a liar, a grifter. I fixed the breach with Nora's help, but the damage was done. I was exposed, vulnerable, and running out of time. I fought back. I posted a video, Truth Over Lies, 3 minutes of raw honesty. I didn't name Mom, Dad, or Liam, but I told my story, the drugging, the abandonment, the theft. I showed the forged trust fund documents, my voice steady. They thought they could erase me, I said. But I'm still here. I uploaded it at 2 a.m., expecting nothing. By morning, it had 100,000 views. Liam's ex account went private. Mom's posts were flooded with criticism, strangers calling her out. I watched the numbers climb, my heart pounding. I wasn't invisible anymore. The National Youth Summit in Chicago came a month later. I was invited to speak, now a recognized activist. I flew out, my speech titled Family is Who Fights for You. The auditorium was packed, students, educators, press. I scanned the crowd, my breath catching when I saw them. Mom and Dad front row holding a sign. Elise, we're sorry. Their faces were soft, repentant, but I knew better. This was optics, another performance. I took the stage, my hand steady on the podium. I grew up being told I'd manage, I began. Not that I'd be loved, not that I'd be seen, just that I'd survive. But surviving isn't living. I told my story, not for them, but for the kids in the crowd, the ones who'd been erased like me. Family isn't who leaves you, I said. It's who walks back and earns the right to stay. The applause was thunder, some tearful, some stunned. I stepped down, my chest light, my purpose clear. They approached me at the reception, Mom's perfume sharp, Dad's throat clearing, nervous. Elise, Mom said, her voice too soft, we're proud of you. Can we talk? I didn't flinch. You had years to talk, I said. You chose silence. Now it's my turn. Dad reached for my arm. I stepped back. You don't get to rewrite this, I said, and walked away, not in fear, but in peace. A summit photo caught my eye later. From my first event at 15, my name tag mislabeled volunteer. Someone had rewritten it in Sharpie. Speaker, I smiled, the weight lifting. A girl, maybe 16, approached, clutching a notebook. Your speech gave me courage, she said. Ascend, her eyes wide. I hugged her, whispering, be. At the summit's end, a stranger slipped me a note. The vault key is with Liam. I froze, my mind racing. Liam, my brother, the favored son, held the key to my inheritance? I flew back to Seattle, the note burning a hole in my pocket. I visited Grandma's storage unit, a dusty space outside the city. Inside was a box labeled For Elise, filled with letters, a carved family tree, and bonds in my name. $100,000, 0 cents. Untouched. The letters revealed Mom's jealousy of my bond with Grandma, her resentment driving the favoritism. You were her light, one read. She never trusted Margaret. I sat on the concrete floor, tears falling, not for pain, but for truth. Liam's foundation, Bright Futures, was flagged by the IRS for fraud. Millions misreported. Mom emailed me, desperate. Elise, we're broke. Can we stay with you? You're strong. We're family. I forwarded it to Priya, deleted it, and declined Liam's role at a cousin's gala. At my platform's first gala, I ensured every name tag was perfect, handwritten, spelled right. As I stood on the patio, fairy lights glowing, the doorbell rang. I opened it, no one. Just the wind curling through the street, carrying a silence that wasn't empty. It was freedom, earned, untouchable. I closed the door, my story mine to tell, and smiled.